Celebrating 9 years of podcast excellence, the King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
And here we go. Wrestling is Real podcast is on right now through your podcast player, whatever you're listening to, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all those great places. And I appreciate all of you checking in the show, subscribing, rating the show, reviewing it. Make sure to go and do that. Really helps a lot. Website is wrestlingizreal.com, or you can check out all the stuff I do, kingofpodcasts.com. This is KOP, and we're going to go and talk about the summer blockbuster season of wrestling. Because unlike before, in previous years, when WWE would just have their own standalone shows, you know, you didn't have the spectacle that was Money in the Bank, which originally was going to be a full-fledged Las Vegas show, a big stadium show at Allegiant, but only because of the fact that, sure, maybe they didn't get as many tickets sold yet for the stadium show because they had to go ahead and push away because they had booked the show on July 4th weekend, the same weekend as a UFC card, which you just don't do that. You can't go up against boxing and all the other things, and you know you have to know there's going to be other things going on at the same time. So while UFC takes over T-Mobile Arena, WWE is going to take over the Grand Garden Arena at MGM Grand. And that's what they have to do. So Money in the Bank this weekend on Saturday. We will do a post show right here at wrestlingizreal.com. I'll go and host that. And, you know, well, of course I host all these, don't I? All, you know, most of the 702 episodes of this show anyway. But look at what we have so far. I didn't even put Slammiversary into the mix. But there's Slammiversary, there's Battle Riot. NWA had their Always Ready show. And they'll have the NWA 73 will be coming up. Or 74, excuse me. And when you think about what we have now in terms of shows across the board that are just crazy at this moment. I mean, think about it. There's so much going on now. No, yes, NWA 74 is August 27th and 28th. They'll be back at the Chase once again. So getting your full-fledged of the summer. I mean, we're starting off with Forbidden Door. That officially kind of starts everything off. And then going into Money in the Bank to start off July. And then SummerSlam to close out July. And then to September, right before the end of the summer, it's Dynamite Grand Slam. That's a lot of stuff going on at the same time. Those are 4 major shows. Plus, some of the things that are being done to try to really build up the buzz. Like, with Forbidden Door, you also had Blood and Guts tonight, which was a hell of a match. Put over an hour to go ahead and dedicate the show for that. Let's see how it does for ratings. With Money in the Bank coming up at SummerSlam, John Cena making his return, his 20th anniversary, another spectacle of the show. So, like, WWE and AEW kind of programming each other, maybe not on purpose, but they're definitely putting things together to build interest. This is not just your normal run-of-the-mill off-season that we normally get, because all hands are on deck. I mean, sure, Cody Rhodes cannot be on the card, but they did make sure to go and feature him on Monday Night Raw this past week. But John Cena's back into the mix somewhere, somehow, most likely against Austin Theory. And then you look at Money in the Bank, they're setting things up, trying to make a lot of importance. But there's a lot of where WWE itself has to really counter program. They need to go and keep their ratings up during this lull time where baseball is the only sport they're dealing with right now. And they start off, you know, pretty strong. When you have Riddle and Roman Reigns taking on each other, you have, they're putting featured matches on. They're trying to do what they can to really build things up on all their shows. Now, is it perfect? No. But I can tell you that you can really see that WWE is really trying hard in their promotion and their marketing to try to really kind of fill those shows up for the sake of their broadcast partners and to really build interest when you're kind of low on talent, when you don't have, you know, Brock Lesnar on a regular basis, Roman Reigns on a regular basis, Ronda Rousey on a regular basis. Well, I guess Ronda's been around, but is that going to be like that all the time? And there's a little bit of gimmickry they're doing. They did put out a battle royal to start off Raw, and they did a fatal 5-way to determine who was going to be the final entrant for the Money in the Bank ladder match. They did that as well. They're doing all those things. Giving you stipulations for matches, giving you reasons, not just championship contender matches, not just matches for matches all the time. Like, they are trying to mix it up a little bit. They've been trying since after WrestleMania. It's looking like that. And when you see Vince coming out because of the pressure of the whole investigation, like, there's a lot going on their side to try to get things exciting and keep people enthusiastic about the product. It's been a year now since we really feel like we're out of pandemic because crowds came back almost a year ago. It'll be July 12th when we'll have the year anniversary of everything coming back to normal. No more Thunderdome. Remember that? I do. And I'm so happy for that. And I really feel like that WWE's really not stopped their foot off the pedal. They have not taken their foot off. They've been trying hard. Day one was quite an ambitious effort to the end of the year. Instead of having that lull at the end of the year because they would have TLC and kind of just build things off of that, the day one pay-per-view was pretty strong. Like, you know, you had a lot of things that happened that day, and they definitely want to make that a big show, and they did. And so from year to year, I don't know what happens after SummerSlam and what they do afterwards, but they need to build new stars. They need to build some momentum because they cannot go into another football season struggling, or another basketball season for that matter. For AEW, the same thing goes. I mean, they continue to have some veteran free agent stars making their way in. Claudio Castagnoli is the most recent, but I mean, putting him in the Blackpool Combat Club and having that talent there to work with the younger stars makes all the sense in the world. I will say that when you look at the matches, there is quite a good mix of young and old throughout. The pillars are not in the forefront right now, but there's also other stars you're trying to go ahead and give time for. So maybe Darby Allin after Forbidden Door, they haven't put a focus on him immediately after. MJF has been off TV for a while. Jungle Boy, they've kept him out of the mix because they're building up now that Luchasaurus has turned heel and is aligned with a new heel, Christian Cage. They have built up Orange Cassidy. Hell, they gave him his original indie music, which I didn't know was Jane by Jefferson Starship, which is a very cool song, by the way. I like it. And you look at what's all going on there. When you look at Blood and Guts, there were a lot of veteran stars in that Blackpool Combat Club, but you did see Wheeler Yuta out there. It was very much a star on the rise. When you look on the other side, you're looking at 2.0, Matt Menard and Angelo Parker, part of that mix. Meanwhile, all the other stars are very much established. So that's great. At least there's some young stars into the mix of what they're doing here. Jade Cargill's still being booked very strong. And so all those things come into play, and AEW is putting the pressure on themselves because they have to build up. They're going to also have all Out coming up in September as well. They're going to have those shows to deal with, that and Dynamite Grand Slam to also counter with. They're putting a lot of pressure on themselves. Like, they really are putting out some big time shows to really build things up. And I can appreciate where they're coming from, like with the build up of what they're trying to do to get the matches up front. But that's the competition now. The competition we've been needing for a long time. Like, I was wondering when we were going to get to this point where WWE and AEW were finally pushing each other, making them up their game. Because I believe that's actually happening right now. They're both working on all cylinders. I mean, they're working really hard. They're playing really hard. For the ratings part, WWE being able to go and pull 2 million viewers on SmackDown and Raw is an accomplishment for them. It's a feat. A little bit of struggle for the Forbidden Door build-up for AEW, but they got themselves back towards 1 billion viewers in the 950,000, 970,000 viewer part. I think they could pull over 1 million viewers tonight with Blood and Guts. It wasn't so much the follow-up after Forbidden Door, which makes sense because the New Japan stars will not be there to follow up after the fact. The aftermath of all that doesn't come in here, except for the aftermath that was brought in because of what happened at Forbidden Door with the stipulation for Blood and Guts. So that's a good tie-in. But when you don't have anything else to fall back on and just start things up fresh without these New Japan stars to worry about, this transition to Blood and Guts right here and using it as part of the pay-per-view on Sunday to bring it into full circle for Wednesday was a very smart move. Pretty smart. And what a way to go ahead and really build to this Detroit crowd because they had a full arena tonight. Little Caesars Arena is a full stadium. That's a big arena, big hockey arena for them to run in, not the normal college arenas that would normally run in many places these days. And that AEW, in cases, are trying to go ahead and build themselves up to go ahead and take some of these bigger arenas. Like the Forum, they took that not too long ago, and they also did a really good job there. Like, give them a lot of credit. It's ambitious what they're doing now and what they're doing to build themselves up. So I can appreciate all that they're doing right now and trying to build things up and trying to make things go forward where it needs to be. And I can appreciate that. Now, coming up, I'm going to go and just take a few minutes to talk about Money in the Bank this weekend. There's not a whole lot I got to bring up on the show. But I did want to start off with the comparisons of what both organizations are doing. And I think it also kind of spreads along to the New Wrestling Alliance, to the other companies, to also have to step up their games as well. Now we know that Death Before Dishonor just got announced as a pay-per-view for Ring of Honor. We'll have that coming up. And I appreciate they actually put that together and finally said something. Let me bring that up real quick. So Death Before Dishonor will be at the Tsongas Center in Lowell, Massachusetts, July 23rd. And this was said during the post-show media scrum for Forbidden Door. Tony Khan made the announcement. So we're waiting for what's going to be happening for the show. And there's a good chance that we're going to go and see Jonathan Gresham. According to what they had a story, well, they had a storyline on AEW Rampage that Jonathan Gresham made a rare appearance on the show and seemed to accept a challenge from Lee Moriarty for a title match. But then Tully Blanchard came out with his Enterprise stable. And then we saw Gresham challenging Blanchard stable to a future tag team match. So we'll probably get Gresham and Moriarty versus Tully Blanchard Enterprises. That'll be coming up for the 19th edition of Death Before Dishonor. And they already got tickets coming up on sale July 8th, 10 a.m. Great stuff. Looking forward to that. Let's see how it all turns out. So a couple of things to bring up real quick that came up on the radar for the wrestling news is Sasha Banks, which we know there was news previously from Raj Giri of WrestlingInc.com that said that Sasha Banks was being released from her WWE contract, but she took to Twitter last night to explain what may be going on and why she's still listed on the roster. And he took to Twitter, Raj Giri. He stated that she was released on June 10th via Erica Schreiber, VP of Business and Legal Affairs for Talent Relations, and added that the rumor is that the company is still trying to smooth things over, which would explain why she's still listed internally and on the roster page. Well, they were already needing to renegotiate her deal because it was near expiration. And so with Stephanie McMahon now being interim CEO, this might be where Stephanie is intervening here to try to work things out and not let Sasha Banks sign with another company. So there's that to worry about. I don't know if there's much to this situation, but it would be best for them to try to hold on to Sasha Banks if they can. But like I said a while back, what is the case that we don't see something come back where maybe there's a point where she doesn't stay and she goes to Hollywood? I still think that's a possibility. That's just to me. Let's talk about Money in the Bank. So we got it coming up this Saturday. And as we know, on the men's side, there's much more importance to find out when and if whoever's going to be the suitcase holder at the end of the night, and then how they're going to have them go up against Roman Reigns. Because, I mean, that's the whole thing now. The out for Roman Reigns' title run would have to be a cash-in. And it's unfortunate they have to keep doing this because Roman Reigns has lost the belt due to cash-ins before, so has Brock Lesnar. And if they decide to do that, well, then what else are you going to do? But they're willing not to go ahead and put the strap on anybody else's back to be at the level of Roman Reigns. And why Vince McMahon only wants to have one star at the very top and cannot afford to have other stars at the same level. Well, okay, you do have men and women that are main event stars that you can definitely promote. But there should be multiple stars on the men's side and the singles competitors that are vying for those belts. And the fact of the matter is, why don't we just go ahead and combine the belts anyway? Because I don't really care to go and see whether we have two individual belts anyway. I always much preferred that the U.S. title and the IC title are given more prominence anyway. We don't need to go and see the champion every week out there. And just for me, I don't know, just something about just putting that out there. Maybe just preferred not to go and see that at all. When we look at Theory right now holding the U.S. title, so we know that, okay, John Cena will probably take on Theory at SummerSlam. Something will be set up beforehand. We can see that happening. And if that's the case, it will give him a rub because he might get a chance to go and get the win on Cena and get pushed up. But then you're not going to go and throw him into Roman Reigns and do anything for that right now. It's way too early for Theory. He's 24 years old. I would believe the best thing for him to do is to remain U.S. champion and just have him continue to compete. Put people on that roster up against him and let him just, go the same route. Build up that U.S. title and just go for it. What else are you going to do? Because right now, there's some strength in the title holders for the IC and the U.S. titles. Theory could be a long-running champion, so could Gunther, when you look at it. But it's funny that Gunther's not even in anything with Money in the Bank so far, unless he's in the pre-show, but nothing's been considered of him right now. Meanwhile, the women's titles will be defended at Money in the Bank and most likely at SummerSlam. And we will not have anything when it comes to the title, the undisputed heavyweight title right now, because of the Money in the Bank ladder match, which will be the focus of that to find the next contender, of which we only know 6 stars and there's supposed to be 7. So there's still supposed to be one more name added. And at this moment, we don't know who that is because I guess they'll have some qualifying match Friday night on SmackDown as a record to go ahead and set that up. But when I look at where things are now with the main roster and WWE side, when I hear people talk about some of the other NXT stars need to make their way up, okay, I got it. Listen, when it comes to Great American Bash, that's coming up next week too. I should bring that up as well, right? There are some names in that list that, do you want to go and see them move on away from what's going on here? Where they're going to be doing something where the Great American Bash will be the chance for some stars to make the call up right around SummerSlam time. I don't think it's too early for Braun Breaker to make that move if they decide to go and have Cameron Grimes take the win on the way out, or a Toxic Attraction to move up on the way out after Gigi Dolan and JC Jane dropped the belts to Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. As I've been saying for a long time, Roxanne Perez, keep the rocket on her back because she is a star right now. And to go and hold her back and feel like there's more that needs to be done for her, I'm mistaken. Like, I will say this, and I know some people are going to probably be pissed off when I say this, but like, I would take Roxanne Perez over Raquel Rodriguez anytime. Raquel Rodriguez, listen, she's very athletic. She's good in the ring, but I get more. I feel like there's more value to Roxanne Perez than there is Raquel Rodriguez. And I'm sure some of you are going to say, what's wrong with you? What are you saying? Like, okay, I got it. I get it. But that's just where I'm coming from with it. But I already got 8 matches scheduled for Great American Bash next week. So Cameron Grimes and a good storyline finish, face-to-face encounter between Cameron Grimes and Bron Breakker. It was a good way to go ahead and finish off to set up that match. Much better build than what they gave Bron Breakker and Joe Gacy, by the way. Then you got Carmelo Hayes with Trick Williams going up against Grayson Waller for the North American title. I'll tell you what I think on the prediction side. So I'm going to say Cameron Grimes takes the belt off of Bron Breakker. I do. We already know the NXT title. They haven't been afraid of doing things like that. And I think Bron Breakker might be soon enough steadfast to be head up to the main roster. I don't think it's too early for him to go. And there's not much left on this roster that he has to go through anyway. Like who's your next opponent for him if they decide? Do you bring somebody else down from the main roster to take him on? Or what? But Bron Breakker's already been champion. He's already been stood out. You might as well just go ahead and say, you know what? Let's move him up. It's about that time. And there's a lot of places you can go with it. So like that's a good thing to do. I would take Bron Breakker and I'd move him up now. Don't even waste any more time. The guy is ready. You're just stalling while you keep him down here. Okay? I don't feel like pulling the trigger on Carmelo Hayes. And I think Carmelo Hayes will win over Grayson Waller. Trick Williams versus Wes Lee. I'll take Wes Lee in the singles match. And for the tag team titles, I'm not much into anything right now. The Creed brothers feel very bland. Same thing with Diamond Mine. I mean, thank you, Roderick Strong, for still sticking around. But their Diamond Mine is just kind of there. And I don't feel much with either of these teams. If you wanted me to hate a wrestler more than anything else, the one I hate the most right now is Wendy Chu. She is annoying. And on purpose annoying, I'm sure. I can't stand the character at all. Like, it's just a pain. It's like chalkboard. It's like screeching chalkboard on chalk on a chalkboard. It's like that. Like, it really is like just too much. I hope Tiffany Stratton wins. Apollo Crews against Zion Quinn. That'll be a nice little match, and I think Zion Quinn gets the win. Unless they decide to go Apollo Crews and they try to go a best of 3 with him or something like that. Or it could just continue the feud. And then the UK Tag Team Championships. Why we have the UK Tag Team Champions here with Briggs and Jensen taking on Pretty Deadly. I don't get that where the UK title's being brought up here. But I guess they just need the Creed brothers and Briggs and Jensen. That's the thing. The Creed brothers and Briggs and Jensen, I mean, they feel like the same. I know they're different. I know there's a bit of a difference in the gimmick, but it just feels nothing special about that. But to me, I think Toxic Attraction and Bron Breakker are destined to move up the main roster now. You don't have to wait anymore. Those gimmicks are ready to go. So let's just move Bron Breakker and Toxic Attraction up. They need the help. And there are spots on the roster for them. I would imagine you could put them in a lot of different places. And that's what they should do coming up, where you take them off after Great American Bash and you bring them out after SummerSlam. To give them a little time, make the transition, call them up after SummerSlam, give them something to do. Because I think that lull after SummerSlam, leading up to Survivor Series, you need some things to do right there. And, like you're going to have the show in Wales, in the UK, Clash of the Castle to worry about. You'll also have the Saudi Arabia show after that. So you have those shows that you'll need to bring on the part-timers. But what about those shows in between? To give these fresh new stars with Bron Breakker and Toxic Attraction here and continue to build on Theory and continue to build on Moss, whatever. I mean, just keep some fresh faces out there, something that'll make things different. And I think that's what you do. fresh matches, something here, and I don't know what else you'd do. It's like just there has to be something there that you kind of build off of. Take some of those stars and put them up. You can add a few more names into that roster right now. And then some of those spots will be left open for these other stars to fight each other for and see what happens. Because they got some stars there that are interesting on the NXT side. And if you decide to go ahead and move Braun Breaker and Toxic Attraction away, I think they're going to probably be okay. Because they'll have enough names on the men's and women's rosters to continue to keep things going forward. I don't think they lose too much traction by moving them up. But I feel like you can make these moves right now. I don't know why you wouldn't. Now, Money in the Bank is this weekend. And so far, on the card, we got quite a few matches set up. 6 matches so far. Starting off, Bianca, Belair, and Carmella, Raw Women's title. And Bianca should win this quickly. It's just another opponent of the month to set up here. Ronda Rousey and Natalya, another just a setup. Like, these are just 2 kind of just enhancement matches for both. This is just to continue to keep them on a strong spot, leading with their continued title reigns. That's where I see both of these matches going. Theory and Bobby Lashley, I think Theory can take the win. I just don't know how they're going to do it. But Theory being able to go and make wins out of this and leading up to John Cena, and Theory and John Cena with the U.S. title on the line would be a good match to have. I think you could go that route and you could make something of it. Tag team division is light at best. You did bring Viking Raiders back as a heel team. I don't know how many times you could just repackage them and expect them to be anything better. Street Profits, I just don't feel anything here. I mean, listen, when I looked at John Cena talking to Street Profits, I was thinking of Crime Time again. And you know what? Both of those teams are not much different. Crime Time was like, had the gimmick and had a few things to talk about. But the truth is, Street Profits are not much different. They're just kind of bland. I mean, they got charisma, don't get me wrong, but it's the same thing over and over. And I guess it's just familiarity that works for them because that's what New Day was, or New Day is. Now, determining what goes on when it comes to these matches, so I'm taking Bianca Belair, Ronda Rousey, Theory, Usos. Not even a question there. Those matches are going to go that route. Now, the Money in the Bank ladder match. So if I had to go and pick which names you had here that might be possibilities, Lacey Evans, Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Asuka, and Becky Lynch. And what are the scenarios of the matches we get? So like I said, we're pretty clear that Ronda Rousey and Bianca Belair, they're going to be the title holders. They're going to be holding the belts for those respective championships that either on the women's side of the Money in the Bank ladder match, whichever brand they're on, they're going to go after. So do we want to see Lacey Evans now go up against Bianca Belair and try to cash in? Or Alexa Bliss or Liv Morgan? I don't know. It's interesting also that we only have 1 star on the SmackDown side for the Money in the Bank ladder match. So they're all going to going after Bianca Belair. Do we have that pretty clear? That Bianca Belair needs to be worried because of the competitors they have so far. It's a good chance that, unless Raquel Rodriguez pulls out the win, she will be the one going after Ronda Rousey. But that also tells you that Ronda Rousey doesn't have any other competitors right now. They haven't built up anybody to be anything there to do something with. Which is why I think, and you tell me if I'm wrong, look, and I know it sounds crazy. We don't know if Bayley's coming back yet. We haven't heard about her. If Sasha Banks can re-sign her deal, let's get Ronda and Sasha together. We know Charlotte is still out for a while, but is she going to be making her way back after she got married? There's just a lot of stars that are missing in action. And then do you want to bring somebody up? Would a Mandy Rose coming into the space now, would that be somebody that's suitable for the SmackDown side to go up against Ronda Rousey? I mean, just if you had Toxic Attraction as a trio attacking Ronda Rousey on a regular basis. I like the idea. I actually think the idea is pretty good going into SummerSlam if you decide to bring Toxic Attraction up and they become pawns for Ronda Rousey and she has to overcome these three. I feel like that would actually do well. And you could do a program with them where Gigi and JC Jane are continuously going after and attacking. And then who you'd have that Ronda Rousey has to go ahead and support her. But we know there's a lot there. But Ronda Rousey has no opponents. In the same vein that Roman Reigns has no opponents, feasibly. So I don't know what you do right there. But if I had to go and choose in order of who I think would actually win that briefcase and do something with it, what we could see, which I wouldn't mind either, and I know people are going to hate this, but Becky Lynch, if she wins that cashes in the briefcase, I think she cashes in on Ronda. And maybe you do something where you put her over there. I don't know, something. Because I'm not going to see Becky Lynch go ahead and go back after Bianca Belair again. I don't think that'll go. You could go for the underdog favorite and see Liv Morgan wins it. And they could. But my problem with her is it's not that she's not talented. You know, maybe if I could hear her without the scripted promos. Because the scripted promos, she has such a monotone voice. And maybe if we just got her away from talking that way, I don't think she talks like that normally, does she? But I feel like that's what they're telling her to do in the approach when she does these scripted promos on a regular basis. And I don't like them. It sucks. So I don't know what you do right there. Alexa Bliss winning this, getting the briefcase here would be great. I actually think when she brought up the idea of having Lily have their own briefcase is pretty funny. And I wouldn't be surprised if she was the underdog favorite, because it would be great to go and see Alexa Bliss and Bianca Belair. I want that match. I do like to see that match. And I don't see Lacey Evans right now doing anything, and I don't get why she's over on Raw when she could be better off on SmackDown, but I don't know. And it's really weird that just other stars that they decided not to put into this match. No Aaliyah, no Shayna Baszler. None of that. But this is their choice. So if I have to pick, I don't see Raquel Rodriguez. Not right now. And that's only based on the fact that she would go ahead and cash in on Ronda. We already saw them face each other and they already had some kind of respect thing. And I think Alexa is my first choice and then Becky Lynch is the second choice. I don't think Asuka does it because she already had that cash in before. Or, yeah. I don't say Asuka. I'll take Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch. I'll put Liv Morgan on the third choice. Then I'll put Asuka, Lacey Evans, and Raquel Rodriguez. That's where I look at it. The men's Money in the Bank ladder match I'll put like this. Seth Rollins, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, Omos, Sami Zayn, and Riddle have all qualified. They're all in the match. Riddle would probably be the most popular choice. And I can see where they let him go and cash in, but I don't think it'll be him. They can have where Drew McIntyre grabs that briefcase. That will be the next choice. I don't think Omos is picking it up, and I don't think Sami Zayn's picking it up. I'm going to choose Seth Rollins. And I think this company needs to get back behind Seth Rollins. Look, he did such a great job with Cody Rhodes. It's time to put Seth Rollins into the mix where he can steal it from Roman Reigns. That story says it just tells itself. Let's see Seth Rollins get the belts back. He's already been champion on both sides. Let's put him there. Because I think that's where they should go with it. It would be the right way to go in that feud. Let's get Seth Rollins to be the next person to deal with Roman Reigns. And Roman Reigns just continues to have to be, dealing with Seth Rollins on a regular basis. Because I don't think that's where I want to see things go. And then Seth Rollins continuously trolls on Roman Reigns on a regular basis, trolls on Paul Heyman. And, what you could really do, if you want to say, Roman Reigns is supposed to be the heel here, but he's more like a face. Like, they do treat him like a face out there. So why not make the whole bloodline turn face with Seth Rollins turning heel? And he finds some people to go ahead and help him out to screw things up on Roman Reigns so he can go ahead and cash in that briefcase. And then you could set something up where down the line, Cody Rhodes could go ahead and try to get that belt off of Seth Rollins. And maybe Roman Reigns doesn't have to be, holding the belt right now as long as he has. He's already held on to it long enough. I don't think there's anything wrong if Seth Rollins is the one that takes the belts in the cash in with the Money in the Bank briefcase off of Roman Reigns. I'll just be bold about it. That's how I feel about it. I don't know why it would be such a problem, but I would like to see that happen. But you tell me if I'm off on that. So we're going to leave it there. There's a whole lot more to talk about this weekend. Money in the Bank is this weekend on Saturday. I'm going to just keep it short because I know we only got a couple days before we get to that. So make sure to go ahead and come back right here, WrestlingIsReal.com. We'll get y'all squared away with the post show for Money in the Bank and talk about that. And then we'll be back. And by then we'll probably have seen Great American Bash. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. And we'll continue along this journey in the course going along in this summer blockbuster season of wrestling right here on the Wrestling is Real podcast because wrestling needs us.
Thank you for listening to the Wrestling is Real podcast. You can find all previous episodes at WrestlingIsReal.com or subscribe to the show on all major podcast outlets, including Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Follow the King of Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at King of Podcasts, and search King of Podcasts on YouTube, or type youtube.com/JBRASCO951. This has been a presentation of the King of Podcasts Radio Network.